In life, you have your duos. Either it be peanut butter and jelly, Tom and Jerry. Now, if we're talking Hokies, maybe Justin Mutz and Keve Luma, or Liz Kick-Litley and Georgia Moore. Now, it's Karis Baker and Carly Wenzel at the helm for Virginia Tech, and they will be crucial in the final month of the season. But let's go back to their early days. In the age of NIL and the transfer portal, Baker and Wenzel have been Hokies through and through, having been here since they were freshmen. Wenzel was on that Final Four team, though she never stepped on the court, and Baker came in the year after. We're around the midway point of the college football season and in the heart of ACC conference play, and it's still anyone's to win. Well, not anyone's, but this past week really shake things up with Miami's loss to Louisville this past weekend. It is almost here as it gets warmer in Blacksburg. Clocks will be moved forward, and it's time to start wearing green during St. Patrick's Day. But most importantly, it's almost March Madness season, baby, and for the Lady Hokies, it's time to get back to the big dance. As of now, Virginia Tech sits as a top 10 seed in Charlie Cream's bracketology for ESPN, and they're even better at projected a last four bye team, meaning they wouldn't have a play-in game. But before we look forward, let's closely look back at some of the key wins this season. That's the thing about Wahoo's football, they found ways to win, and especially behind that offense that's averaging over 40 points per game. They beat then-ranked FSU and Louisville earlier this season. The Mustangs came into ACC last year and introduced themselves going undefeated in conference until losing to Clemson in the championship game. Fast forward, and they are still one of the top teams in conference and are looking for a vengeance from last year. Whenever you go on a 7-game winning streak, that's going to help your chances. But if I had to pinpoint a few games, these were the big ones. The 13-point comeback win against Clemson was huge, the win against Virginia, and an in-conference bubble team, and the 20-point beatdown of Syracuse, who currently stands in front of the Hokies in ACC play in the bracket, is big. With Liz Kitley set for the pros and Georgia Moore transferring to Kentucky, the new coach Megan Duffy had to find their new players to lean on. Last year, they both started every game, and Wenzel led the team with 14 points per game, and Baker had just over 12 points and 6 rebounds per game. While Rose Michaud and Matilda Eck had also a part of the plan last year, it was clear to see Baker and Wenzel were the future of Virginia Tech women's basketball. There are some other ACC teams I didn't mention, like Pittsburgh and Duke, but both teams have a challenging schedule left, and have already lost a game in conference play. But it wouldn't be fair to not give them a shout out. So don't come after me, Pittsburgh and Duke fans. I see you. Let's take a look at the biggest names for the Hokies this past Saturday. First, we have to talk about the silencer. Christian Ellis, the former New Mexico Lobo safety, had a key pass breakup this past weekend. One to break up a touchdown, and of course the game-winning pass deflection on 4th down to clinch the game for the Hokies. Castellanos is having himself a solid season despite Florida State's down year, averaging 236 passing yards a game, leading an offense that's been explosive this season, and might have an easier time through the air and strive for his first win against the Hokies this Saturday. The Hoos are the last 4 team in, so given the rivalry, the stakes are going to be even higher than they already are. With a win, they could take Virginia out of the tournament. Outside of the ACC, other Bevel teams consist of Mississippi State, Villanova, and Princeton. The Bowling Green transfer, who was working his way back from injury, had his name called 15 times. The bully was running through opponents with ease for 174 yards, including one run had him bowling through multiple players on his way to an 85-yard run. That then set up a touchdown for this next player. Cameron Seldon, another running back, or I should say former running back, the junior transfer from Tennessee came in as a running back, but the coaching staff saw a path for him to be a receiver with his 6'1" frame. We just talked about an old face, so what about a new face for the Hokies? Running back Jeff Overton Jr. made his debut against the Louisville Cardinals. The 4-star freshman had a season-ending injury his senior year of high school. Still, he worked his way back and found the field for just 4 carries and 9 yards. Those first 2 games, y'all were able to put up runs in a hurry. That first game, 9 runs in the first 3 innings. Kind of
Yeah.
how important is that for the team to kind of get in that mentality to put runs across the board early and maybe getting to a rhythm early on in the game?
No, yeah. I think this whole season we've been talking about being the aggressor and like going out and attacking first. And that's what we did in this series. And I think just getting the first couple runs is just like we don't want to stop and like lay back. We want to finish the game in 5 innings if we can and like do exactly like what we did basically. That's what we've talked about all year.
How have you kind of seen your growth through year one, year two? Right now, you're batting 374, 9 home runs, which ties the team, 17 walks. What have you seen from your growth this year?
Um, I think the biggest thing that I did from year one to this year was my focus. I I can be a little like goofball is what my teammates have said, but I think this year I really flipped a switch and in practice it's softball and all that stuff, but and just focusing on like pitch to pitch and not having to swing at everything. I think that's where I kind of like turned the page, I guess.
So I think one term that maybe described this team a little bit has been persistent. Early in some of the series in the season, you kind of fell behind a little bit, but y'all were able to come back, win those games versus SEC teams. Weren't able to do so versus Duke, but you put it to where y'all could have gone extra innings. So what makes this team so resilient in these different games?
I think just our mentality and the way Coach Pete, like he has trust in us. During like South Carolina where we were behind, he never like switched his attitude like, "Oh my gosh, we're going to lose." It was the same throughout all 7 innings of this is what the pitcher's throwing, adjust and hit the ball like to where they're not. And I think that's what we did. We stayed level the whole time. We're never like too much up, too much down. So I think staying like the same really helps us, especially when we're down in games.
How would you how do you like this team's kind of power? I mean, losing Corey, losing 30 home runs is no easy to replace, but I mean, you lead the team. You're tied of Rachel with 9 home runs this season. Jordan Lynch has 8, but everybody else has been able to show off power this season. So what's it like, or how would you like the team's power so far through the season?
I think the biggest difference from this year from last year was that everyone in the order get it done. Like no, if I get out, I know whoever's behind me can get it done and hit the ball. I think there's just so much power throughout the whole lineup, and maybe last year was only like top 5 in the lineup were like the trust in them, but I think this year everyone has developed and is trustworthy to get their job done.
So from a, I guess, hitting perspective, was power something you were working on this past off season for the year? Was it something different, or just kind of everything you can?
Yeah, I definitely worked on power in the fall. What we do a lot is just bat speed, so heavy bat, light bat, just swinging as hard as you can. I think I don't know exactly how much, but my bat speed it jumped a lot, and I think that was the biggest part to how much power I gained from the end of the year to like to now. And also with power, I've been trying to work on pitch selection and when I'm in practice, like really taking it seriously. If even if it's a machine and it's supposed to throw strikes all the time, if it's throwing something I don't want to hit or a ball, I'm trying not to swing at it. So pitch selection and yeah, power have helped me a lot this year.
And Cameron Boozer had the game right, possibly top 3 pick in the NBA draft. He had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. The big thing is 3 3-pointers from the big man. Duke's not a great 3-point shooting team. They have some solid players like Isaiah Evans, but I don't believe he had a 3-pointer the entire game. But they got one from some of their big men. I think Malik Wong had one as well. So for Duke, it wasn't the greatest game. Virginia Tech had a type of game where they really could have won, but from their side, they just couldn't really capitalize down late.
Yeah, I mean, especially watching the Duke end of the floor, we couldn't stop any of the back cuts that they kept producing. They kept just lobbing it up, and every single time it was available for them. And then as well, you mentioned Malik Brown. We didn't guard him close. I mean, you're not supposed to guard him close on threes, but we didn't guard him at all, which allowed him to get. I mean, he only shot 1 for 4, but those were 4 completely open looks where no one was even close to him.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to be able to sacrifice one thing because you don't want Cameron Boozer, all that talent and all that size and length to be able to cut, but they're able to do both. They're able to get some 3-pointers in, but also at the same time get down court and put some points down there in the paint. Now for Virginia Tech, offensively, I mean, you had Imani Hansberry that had 20 points on 3 rebounds. You got 4 3-pointers, but there were some other guys that didn't really step up. Jalen Bedford, Ben Hammond had 12 and 11 points, but you got to have a little bit more production from the rest of the team.
Yeah, you mentioned Hansberry. He shot 80% from 3-point range, but the rest of the starters combined shot 1 for 22. That is unacceptable as far as the team goes. That percentage is so low, and if we want to clear these games or make them a lot closer, especially as we lead into some big games, we're going to need to start producing from beyond the arc.
Yeah, so that, I mean, was a solid game from Virginia Tech. They had a chance down there late, but at the end of the day, Duke is a top 5 team in the country, so you don't really expect a win like that. But they did blow out Louisville by 30, so keeping it close is very respectable. But now let's get into this Virginia Tech and NC State game. NC State's coming on a 5-game win streak. They beat number 20 Clemson. Overall, they have a lot of size that Virginia Tech's going to have to compete with. Darian Williams is averaging 15 points. Paul McNeil Jr., Quadir Copeland, and Van Allen Lubin all are averaging 13 points. So they have a really good rotation of guys that can go out there, get themselves a bucket. And Will Wade is, of course, one of the best coaches right now in the nation.
Yeah, and I mean from this game, it's a one we definitely need to win moving forward, especially to make our resume look better. But it's going to be a matter of building momentum because whether we get a good game from Hansberry or maybe Avdalis will come out of his rut, it's a matter of building up for the bigger games that we have right around the corner.
Yeah, and so for the Hokies, for the Virginia Tech, like you said, Hansberry, he's been having some solid games here. But what I would love to see is maybe the front court kind of get back in the rhythm, them all kind of playing well. Hansberry's been great throughout the year. Lawal's had his moments. He's had his moments since he came back for injury, but he hasn't been scoring as much, but a great defensive guy. And also Gerdek in that rotation. He's been really solid for a freshman, but you kind of want to see them all work in rhythm, all work in tandem, and so I think that would be huge if they can get some front court presence from those 3 rotations as well. And again, like you said, you're hoping that you can get Neo Avdalis back in the rhythm in some way for this team.
Yeah, and as of right now, Virginia Tech sits right on the bubble of that March Madness bracket. What do you think the key is going to be coming down the stretch when it comes to making it in and not having to be one of those Final Four in or out?
Yeah, I think at this point it's going to be hard to get past the bubble and be pretty solidified, but first you got to start out with winning the games you have to, right? So Florida State, they're a quad 3, you got to beat them. Wake Forest, quad 2, you should beat them. I mean, it came down close last time they lost, but that was off some heroic shots. And then Boston College, of course, they're one of the worst teams in the ACC. Quad 3 win, quad 3 team, you got to go ahead and beat them. So it starts with beating the teams that you should beat overall, and then the rest of the games you have some quad 1 opportunities. If you can get one or two of them, you could be sitting in a good spot compared to other teams.